All right, well, welcome everybody to Church Outreach Weekly Webinar. We are going to continue looking at the topic of sermon publishing. I'm going to go ahead and share some links in the chat window. And let's see, go ahead and list everyone in the meeting. There's a lot of links in that thing I just shared in the chat. We're referencing some of them as we go. But glad you could be here today. We are going to have some Q&A time. It's going to be probably in the second half of our hour together today. So if you do have questions, just go ahead and start typing them into chat as they come up. And then once we get to the Q&A time, you can use the raise hand feature of Zoom to get my attention. And then Rebecca, who is works as my assistant, but most importantly, she is my wife. She is here in the meeting today, but she's going to be monitoring the chat, and she'll be able to get my attention if I'm missing some sort of question there. So, all right. So let me just say a word of prayer as we get started. Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us together today, and thank you for the opportunity to learn together. Pray that you just help us, and I pray that you would help all of the people and churches represented here today, that you would give us grace to be good stewards and to grow in our stewardship of what you've entrusted to us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right, glad to see some new faces here today. So welcome. Our agenda today is just kind of go over the goals, do a little bit of review and preview of where we're going with these church outreach webinars. And then the bulk of our time is going to be focused on what I call sermon publishing level 2, which is organizing your sermon library. So Holly and myself are going to be just demonstrating some very nuts and bolts things. Then we will have some time for Q&A in the second part. So just as we just go ahead and start typing in questions as they occur to you in the chat, and then in the second half we will start actually answering those. And then we do have a free bonus for you today, which is free early access with a coupon code to our new online course that we are planning to release soon. How to build a church website with WordPress. And we'll also talk a little bit about the church outreach incubator that is starting in July. So the goals of these webinars is to equip you with proven methods of outreach you can use to bring the work of the church before the people of your community. As I mentioned last week, I was inspired, really guided by these topics, rereading of some pages from the OPC Church Planting Manual of all things. We work primarily with Presbyterian and Reformed churches, a lot of PCA churches, a lot of ARP churches, a lot of OPC churches. And anyway, I was just looking at the OPC Church Planting Manual in recent weeks and months, and it had a really helpful breakdown of what does outreach mean. And it talks about advertising, which I would break down further into online and offline, publishing newsletters, organizing and promoting public meetings, seminars, and conferences, and then distributing recordings and transcripts of sermons and teaching. So this series of webinars is really planned to last for the next 12 months. We make plans and the Lord directs our steps, as my mother-in-law always says, and she's right, it's from Proverbs. But that's our plan, is to just kind of go through all of these topics. And we're starting with sermon publishing because it is something that basically all churches that I'm familiar with are already doing. They're already recording their sermons. They're already putting them online. If you happen to be a church that's not and you would like to, we can help you with that as well. One of the links I put in the chat was a link to for an email, support@5moretalents.com. You could contact the support desk, and Holly or Jeffrey or Laura could follow up with you to help you just start recording your sermons for the first time, if that's the boat that you're in. But assuming that you're already doing that, certainly the sermons are already being preached. So the goal of these 7 levels of sermon publishing is how do you get those out to the widest audience possible? So we've identified 7 levels, and level 1 we looked at last week, which is to add each new sermon recording on its own page. Level 2, which is what we're looking at today, is to organize a sermon library so that people can browse by scripture book, browse by series, and other things like date or topic. We'll get into that today. And then in the future weeks, we're going to look at the next time is going to be in 2 weeks. We will not have a webinar next week because I will be at the PCA General Assembly. By the way, show of hands, raise your hand if you are going to be at PCA General Assembly. So John is, Burge is, very good. So we will have 5 More Talents. We'll have a booth in the exhibit hall there. And John, love to meet you again in person, and Burge, love to meet you in person. Yeah, if you're at PCA General Assembly next week, stop by. Love to meet you in person. We will not have a webinar next week, but in 2 weeks, we'll look at podcast feeds. And then we're going to do a deep dive into creating full text sermon transcripts, then social media publishing. And then the last 2 levels relate to leveraging the power of YouTube. So today we're looking at organizing the sermon library. One of the things before I dive into the new stuff today is in the chat, I shared a couple of links, which I'll go ahead and just share these specific links again. They are some pages that there are some pages that here I'll show them. So basically what they are, and we're going to keep updating these every week. So it's basically a guide to the whole process. And if you're one of our customers, then your site is most likely either using one of the starter sites, which is Ames, Baxter, Charnock, Flavel, or Spring. So there's a guide for those of you who have a site based on that. And then there's also a guide for those customers that have a website based on the Goodwin starter site or Machen starter site. But basically, you can go back, and if you missed last week, you can, for example, click on this, and it will open a panel that will walk you through the process of, in this case, adding a sermon to the site. Another thing we talked about last week was how to embed a sermonaudio.com player on the site, and it will walk you through that process as well. So, and then it also has some of the to-dos that, or some of the guides that we have related to what we're going over today. All right. So, all right, let's dive into the topic for today. So the first thing we're going to look at is just how when you're adding a sermon, how do you categorize it? How do you designate which series it belongs to, which book of the Bible it goes with, speaker, that kind of thing. So for this, Holly is going to demonstrate. So you ready for that, Holly?
Yes, I'm ready. I just need to have screen sharing enabled.
Okay, it should be enabled for you.
Okay, great. Okay. Well, the first one that I am on will deal with, for those of you that have Goodwin or Machen, and it uses what's called the Advanced Sermons Pro plugins, and it's a little bit different than the church themes. So when we go to add a new sermon, you know that we're here on the dashboard. We click on sermons over here on the left and add a new sermon. And once we're in here, we can see these settings here over on the right-hand side where we're going to publish. We have the series over here, speakers, topics, books, and over here, there's also a featured image that you could add. And if you want to set a featured image, you can always click on that link and it'll go directly to the media library where you could pick one, click on set featured image, or upload it directly from your computer, and then you can set that as a featured image, and then it will be in the media library after that. If you do not see this happening here on the right, these settings, then up here at the top is something called screen options you can click on, and it might be that something is not checked up here. For instance, if we were to uncheck series, speakers, topics, so making sure that these are checked so that it shows here on the right-hand side. So you can add a new series. So in this series section here, if it's not used, if something's here that you don't have, so if you're doing a specific series, you can type it in here. Let's say it's a series on John, and we would just add the new series, and there it is. And then we can check it off. Let's see, we have the speakers, same thing. That's exactly how you would add a new speaker, type it in, add, and same thing with topics. If it's a certain topic that you're covering, you can even click on this and it'll say choose from the most used topics, and then it'll show you what are the most used topics right here. You can add your own. Books, make sure you're clicking on the book that you're doing for your sermon. And that's basically it for the Goodwin and the Machen site. The only other thing is here, if you are, some people like to get their sermons ready ahead of time. If you want to publish it immediately, you just leave it as it is and hit publish. If you want to change that, then you can actually schedule it ahead of time. Or let's say you're getting the sermon published after the fact, then just make sure you come in here and select the date that it was actually, that it was preached on, and then hit publish. Okay, so we will go over now to, and I have to move my. All right, now we'll go over to our spring theme, which is a church theme. And those of you that have Spring, Flavel, Baxter, Charnock, or what am I missing? Ames.
Ames, yeah.
Yes. Then you'll have this church content area where you'll add your sermons here. So we're putting in, again, we're going on sermons, and over here on the side, if these settings don't show up, or if you're ever in here and they're missing, then it's this little tiny box up here on settings. And you
I hate to
can,
break in, but
that's
how do we
okay.
know which base website we're using?
Yeah, we don't remember.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So if you don't know which theme that you're using, whether it's a church theme or whether it's the Goodwin or the Machen theme, is
Well,
there
I've got my WP admin page open here. Is there a place to look for that?
is there a way that
I can address this. So
Yeah,
Arnie and Ron, in y'all's case, you're using one of the older starter sites that we no longer offer. So
So we have to upgrade then.
well, what we can do is we can, as I think this was expressed in an email to you all, we can install the Advanced Sermons Pro on your site.
Yes,
That would
I
be
had that done last week. That was done last week for us.
Okay, yeah. So it's basically the one that she just did with the previous example. That is basically what yours will look like.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you for jumping in there, Ronald. That's important. Okay, so here we're on the church content one. If you, like I said, if you don't see the settings and it isn't on the side, then we can open it up that way. And here you would find where you can put in a topic. You can add a topic just like on the other one. Click off on your books here. All the books are in there, so you shouldn't need to add a book. A series, if it isn't here, you can add it. Speakers, you would check those off. Any kind of a tag. And Daniel, I do have a question here about the tags. If a tag is added, does that work for search engine optimization the same way as like if you're doing a tag in a social media post type of a thing?
Usually what I recommend that churches use tags for would be something related to if they want to tag things like morning worship service or evening service, because there's not really any other place this could also be used for topics, which are the examples that you see there.
Okay.
And so really how it relates to search engine optimization is really what I'll get into in just a minute, which is how do you then make sure people can get to a page that has all of the sermons that belong to a series, or all of the sermons on the book of Exodus, or all of the sermons about evangelism, or whatever.
Okay, so that's why it would be important to add the tag here, so that's really within the search within the site. So to be able to search for sermons with that particular whatever tag that you want to add there. And then we can also set a featured image here again. And same thing with the publishing. It can be either immediately, or we can click on this and schedule it for a later time, or click back and do it on a past date. So I think that's it. Is there anything else that I need to go over here, Daniel?
No, that's great. Thank you so much, Holly.
Right, that's it then.
All right. We'll get to your questions soon, but we have a few other things to demonstrate. And so this next one, this is, once you have categorized the sermons, said they're part of a particular series, or that they're related to a particular book of the Bible, or whatever it is, I'm going to show you how you then make it so that people can find that. And here's one reason why this is important. So there are searches that people do that are basically sermons about a particular topic. And what I'm going to show you are ways that you can optimize the sermon pages on your site so that they are the most likely, everything else being equal, to show up for these kinds of searches. So for example, this example is just to show you sermons about Jesus. There's 720 per month. And the good news about this is the keyword difficulty is easy, right? So if you have a page on your site that is collects all of the sermons about Jesus, or joy, or peace, or whatever it is, sermons about Jonah, then what I'm going to show you is what you need to do to do a baseline optimization for that. And it's a lot more realistic, or a lot more within the realm of possibility for a church website to rank on the we'll just say high in Google for a keyword like sermons about something, sermons about Jesus, for example, than to actually rank in the #1 spot for if someone just types in Jesus, right? Because you can see here, this keyword difficulty is very hard. Okay, so the idea is by just targeting these pages towards people searching for sermons about a particular topic or or person or whatever, a book of the Bible, then those keywords are easier to rank for. All right, so first we're going to look at how do you create these pages, and we're first going to look at how you do this with sites using the Church Content Pro plugin. So that would be Ames, Baxter, Charnock, Flavel, Spring. All right, so I need to get my demo site here. Okay, so basically, I already have a page here called Sermons by Book. And let's say we want to have a page of sermons by series. So what you do is, let's see, you go to new page, and we're going to call this one sermons by series. It actually doesn't matter what you call it. But here's the key is that, again, if you're using Ames, Baxter, Charnock, Flavel, Spring, one of those starter sites, you need to pick the template, and you need to pick the page template. This is crucial. So I'm going to pick the sermon series page template.
Daniel, can I interject something really quick?
Yes.
You were just talking about like the importance of like naming like your posts or your kind of like your page for optimal ranking, but then I just wanted to clarify, you're talking about when you're making like a page on your site, it doesn't necessarily matter what you call it, but that's different than like posting a sermon with a specific title. Is that, am I tracking with that correctly?
I think so. We're gonna circle back around to, yeah, just we're gonna look at a kind of a very specific keyword optimization here momentarily.
Okay.
That hopefully will clear things up a little bit more.
Okay.
All right, so you need to create these types of pages. I'll just say, chances are you probably already have these pages built. If you have a church website that we built, I would say within recent years, and this is what it looks like. You can see, you can browse sermons by topic, sermons by series, sermons by book, right? And then people can click on individual pages to see all of the sermons on that particular book or topic or by that particular speaker, so on and so forth. So what I'm showing is, if you're looking at your website and you don't see that you already have those menu items under sermons, how do you add those? So the way that you add them is by selecting the proper page template: sermon books or sermon dates, sermon series, sermon speakers, or sermon topics. So in this case, I'm going to do sermon series. And now I'm going to go ahead and publish it. It's really all you have to do. Let's view the page. It basically populates everything else. Now, the exact way that this looks is going to be a little bit different based off of what theme that you use, but all of them have the same kind of feature. Let me do one more example. I need to show how to add this to the menu. So after you have created the page, you need to make sure you select the proper menu and then add it to the menu. And do sermon, we'll add this in the sermons menu. So here somewhere, there we go. All right, and then we have that sermons by series. All right, and now we have sermons by book, right? And you can see it adds this toggle where people can toggle back between series and books. And then it automatically builds these pages based off of the process that Holly was showing a few minutes ago, where you just check off which series the sermon belongs to, which book of the Bible, and so forth. Let me just do one more example. Let's say you wanted to give people the ability to browse. Let's see, what are the other common ones? To browse by topic. All right. So we're going to do new page. And I'm just going to title it Sermons by Topic. In fact, I'm going to just call it Browse Sermons by Topic, just to show that it doesn't matter what you title it. But what you do need to do is you need to select the correct templates. I'm going to choose sermon topics. And one thing I forgot to show in the previous one is that it's a good idea to use to designate your main sermons page as the parent. So I'm doing that here. I should have done that for the other one. It affects the URL structure. So now you can see the URL says sermon library / browse sermons by topic. And now people can browse by topics, series, and books. So I'm going to go back to sermons by series and add the parent page to that one as well. Okay. All right. Now let me go on to the next step with this one, and before we get to the example with Advanced Sermons Pro, and show what the final step you'd need to do to optimize for a particular keyword. So the prerequisite you need to have is you need to have a plugin called Yoast SEO installed. And many of your websites probably already have this installed. If not, it's a free plugin. We can install it for you. But the first thing that you need to do is just check in your settings, and let's look at sermon books. So you want to look at this SEO title and make sure it says something like this: sermons about, term title, page separator, site title. You can see these are gray because they're basically variables that the website automatically fills in. But here you can see it says sermons about such and such. All right. So now let's go to our sermon books, and let's use the example of sermons about Exodus. Let's see. All right. And here you can see an example. It says that sermons about Exodus. And so that's what you want it to say, right? People, there's probably, if not hundreds, there's at least dozens of people every month that are searching for sermons about Exodus. So as long as it looks like this, then great. If not, then you can edit it kind of individually here. You could just say sermons on. You could even take out that title, and you could say sermons on Exodus. All right, you can just totally customize it. But in order to be targeted to the keyword sermons about Exodus, which you can see I put in here as the focus key phrase, then that's what the SEO title does. And then you could add a meta description. Really, you'd want to make this something that is clear and descriptive, and that would give people a realistic idea of what they could expect if they click through on that page. That's the value of a meta description, is it's something that search engines can use as in this snippet that appears on the search engine, and that will just encourage people to click. All right, so that is this like a baseline search optimization for a sermon library category page, is what I'm calling it, where there's people searching for keywords like sermons about Exodus or whatever the topic is. And if you use this Yoast SEO tool, Make sure the title matches what that focus key phrase. That's baseline search engine optimization. All right. I know there's lots of questions showing up in the chat, and just stick with me for another few minutes. I'm going to do one more demonstration, and then we'll start getting to the questions. All right, so now let's assume, let's switch gears to those of you who may be using a website based off of the Goodwin starter site or the new Machen starter site. So I guess the bad news, if you're using this Advanced Sermons Pro plugin, is that at this time it does not have all the full range of different types of pages that you have with one of the other 5 starter sites, Spring or Baxter or etc. But the good news is it has a really, really beautiful Browse Sermons by Series page, which that's a very common way for churches to organize their sermon teaching. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, if you don't already have a page like this on your site, how to do it. So I am going to, you see what it looks like. I'm going to basically delete this page and then recreate it. So let's go to Pages, and I'm going to trash that. And I'm going to empty the trash. Obviously, you don't need to do these steps if you don't have that. Okay, so now I'm going to, first thing I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go to Sermons and Settings. Again, this is only for those of you who are using the Advanced Sermons plugin. And you're going to go to Short Codes. You can see there's actually a variety of short codes. So there's a lot of options that you can experiment with. I'm just going to grab the series short code just to keep things super simple. I'm just going to copy this. Now I'm going to go to Pages, and I'm going to add a new page. And I'm going to call it Browse Sermons by Series. And oh, now I need to put in the short code. Right? And it's very cryptic, but it's very powerful. And now we're going to designate the parent page as, what is it called on this one? Do we have one? We can come back to that. We don't need to set that. I'll go ahead and publish it and see what it looks like. So what you can expect to see is a sermon series grid. So that little short code, that little cryptic bit of code, is what the website uses to display these sermon series. And it automatically updates this as you add series to the site. So just the last 2 steps, I'm going to show you how to add it to the menu, and then how to, again, do some search engine optimization on one of those. So I'm going to add it, make sure we got the right menu selected, add it to the menu, and then just drag and drop. And click Save Menu. All right, and then very similar to what I showed in the previous example, you want to just, a lot of this can be done just from the global settings. So we'll look at books. Okay, so in this case, we're going to say, right, sermons about term title. We're going to remove archives. that is what is going to tell the website that it needs to title those. And by the titles, that's what appears in these tabs, and it's also what shows up in the search engine. All right. So now we can then look at this. Oops. Let's see. Oh dear, something went wrong while saving. All right, we're going to just ignore that and go on to books. So we're going to look at Hebrews. And so right, if you have a page like this, I would recommend that you just start maybe with the focus key phrase of sermons about Hebrews. All right, and then your SEO title should be sermons about Hebrews. So this one is correct. And then you want to have maybe like, it's like a short tweet that you would put on X, formerly known as Twitter. And you'd say, these are sermons about Hebrews, and you'd put some other information until it turns the bar green, but not red. Right. And so there you've begun the process of optimizing this page that has the sermons about Hebrews on it. All right, so I'm going to stop there. All of these things are in these links that I put in the chat that walks you through the steps that I just went over. So let's get to the questions. So, all right, let's see what we have here. All right, somebody help me out. What? Maybe
All right.
just yeah.
Yeah, I can kind of just
start?
go through questions and comments from the first, like just in descending order. So Ron had just an observation that says, over the course of 10 years, we have found advertising in newspapers, chamber of commerce, distributions, et cetera, to be totally unproductive. That is, we have not seen new visitors who are drawn to our church by that type of advertising. So that's just an observation. Holly asked.
Yeah, if I can
Oh, yeah.
speak to that.
Yeah, if you have anything good.
Yeah, so this reminded me of I think John Butler, I think it was something that you shared a few months ago in one of the church leaders roundtables, is just that many churches have found that advertising on Facebook can in many circumstances be helpful, and I've found that on some projects as well.
Yeah.
Are you ready for the next one? Or?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Print advertising is pretty much dead as far as reach with most people. So yellow pages, newspaper ads, and so forth. You're going to get a lot better coverage with Facebook. One of the things in advertising when I was in radio was what's called the rule of sevens. You want to get the name of your organization or your message before people at least 7 times in a 24-hour period. That way it sticks with them if they hear that message. So you can use various forms of media in order to address that. But by and large, print is a dead means as far as actual reaching out to a lot of people in that particular fashion. But yeah, Facebook is pretty good, and I would work on targeting particular audiences and within a particular radius of where you are, instead of shotgunning the entire state or the metro area. So there are ways you can tweak that and pay for those particular number of impressions you're going to get on the website, or through your Facebook page in that way.
Great, thank you, John. Yeah, thank you for. I keep forgetting about your experience in radio, but it's super relevant. So thank you. And we do have. That's one of the things we're going to be addressing are how to do online ads in future months. All right, Rebecca, what's next?
And it is, what kind of equipment is needed for recording sermons? Can it be as simple as recording on a phone, or would the quality not be optimal?
would say that if you're just starting, the quality from a phone can be adequate. This is not an area of my particular expertise, not being an audio-visual guy. Does the person who asked that question, do you want to expand on that, or?
It was me.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
just wondering if anybody wanted to get started on something. If they ask that question, then can, if they don't have the money to get all the equipment, maybe the high-end equipment kind of thing that would be needed for recording, what else could be used? And would a phone be sufficient enough to record audio and then upload it as an MP?
John?
Yeah. I've been using it as an 8-year-old Android phone for a lot of our sermon recordings. There's an app called ASR that you can download, and then you can select if you're going to save it in MP3 or whatever. Just very simple. I take it up in the pulpit with me, and start, stop, and then it'll upload you can send it to OneDrive, you can send it to Google Drive, any of those things that you select with that. And then download it, enter in the metadata that you're going to, title and when it was done and, topic and so forth and so on. And then you can use that to upload that file to your website itself. It's also available in, I believe, in Apple and iOS as well. So yeah, it's very cheap, simple, not a lot of bells and whistles. Now you're not doing a lot of, if you're going to do editing and so forth, you can, and have somebody who feels comfortable with that, you can get Audacity, which is a free download and audio editor. You can save it in different file formats. You have to get plugins so you can do in an MP3, but those are very easy to get and don't cost anything. So there are ways to definitely get started with the audio and so forth. And if you later want to add, music at the beginning and ending and so forth, those are ways of doing that. I try to stay away from that because there are copyright issues, and it's just best just your sermon itself, and you can do that. But that's just a very easy way of doing that. You don't have to plug it into a soundboard in the back. You don't have to be wired up. Now, it is limited to your being, where the phone is right there at the pulpit. So if you're very wandering type of speaker and so forth, you're not going to pick up everything in that way. So that is a particular drawback there. But that is an easy entry way of doing it these days.
Great, thank you, John. All right, looking at the chat, I would like to get to a question, Ron, that you asked about the keyword explorer. So the particular example that I was using was from some paid software called Wincher. So that, I think, was what you were seeing here. Yeah, that's the keyword explorer. So you'd have to have a paid subscription to Wincher. However, there is something that you can do, anybody can do this, and that is just to pay attention to Google's autocomplete. So for the purposes of this, if you just wanted to do something like this, sermons about, right? You just start typing that in, you can see what it says. Sermons about love, sermons about change, sermons about doubting Thomas, right? It's basically, it's suggesting things that have high traffic. If you wanted to, this could be useful in titling sermons as well. Sermons about, or titling the posts as you post them on your website. Sermons about Romans, right? Sermons about Romans 6, right? You can see how that tends to be broken down.
Wouldn't they be ordered in high competition to low competition order?
that's a good question. I think so. Let's just kind of let's just do a little comparison here. Sermons about, so love, change, doubting Thomas. All right, so if we type this into the keyword explorer, I mean, Google's also going to look at your, if you're logged in, it's going to look at your search history. But let's see kind of, you can see here that it says, you know, sermons about, there's some similarities, right? So if we go, where was that? Sermons about love, change, faith, right? It's basically very similar to this search volume. So if you're just getting started out with keyword research, and if you don't want to pay for a tool like Winsure, then just pay attention to Google's autocomplete. So that's my recommendation there. All right, help me out with what are some of the other questions that I've not addressed yet. Chris asks, Yoast SEO appears to be something extra, meaning a paid subscription. Yes and no. So as I said, if you don't see Yoast SEO anywhere in your dashboard, then probably just means it's not installed. So there is a free version, which you know, is perfectly adequate for most scenarios. And but there is also a premium version, which costs about $100 a year. But the free version is more than adequate.
Well, I've got the button on our website, but when I click on the button, it shows me the premium version, meaning get this. Is there something that we need to do to install it? Because we have the button.
Okay. So probably so basically once it's installed, you're going to basically see the Yoast SEO tools at the bottom of every page or every category. So so for example, let's say you were trying to optimize a particular series. Let's find one here that actually, I don't know, sermons about Zechariah. So when you click here, you should see a box that says Yoast SEO on it. You should see this at the bottom of each individual sermon as well. And if you don't, I don't see it here, but in general, if you're in WordPress and there's not something there that seems like it should be there, you want to look at the screen options, and sometimes you'll find these check boxes, and sometimes that'll be where some things are hidden.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Rick asks, are there plans to expand the Machen sermons menu? Yes, we need to do that, Rick. That is very, very good. So now I wasn't, can you clarify what you're asking by that? Maybe unmute yourself.
Well, it was good for you to bring this up here. So you have the sermons up there. Can you show again what the menu is from there?
Yeah.
Okay, so we would have to change some of that. And how does that match up with the sermons that's at the bottom of the home page?
Let's see.
Yeah, no, there you go. Yeah, that one.
Well, I think that doesn't seem to be going anywhere, but yeah, I mean, basically, these are just showing a variety of different options, and there's a lot of power in the short codes that are available. Let me see if I can find that here. So yeah, so just it's using the Advanced Sermons Pro plugin. There's lots of different short codes. I just showed you one example, but you can create different types of pages that will display all kinds of different types of lists of sermons, and then those pages can be added to the menu. So
this one here is a series short code. What are the other ones you have on there?
so there's sermon short codes, which are just listing sermons in different orders, or maybe ones belonging to a specific series. The series short code is basically what will show a page of all of the different series available. So great example of what this can look like. Definitely recommend that every church using Goodwin should have something like this. All right, so you can have a really, really nice sermon series page where people can just look at all the different series of sermons available, and then they can click into that and it will show all of the sermons that go with that.
Daniel, would you show where those short codes appear? I couldn't find them when I created a new page.
Yes. So, when you created a new page?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, so first you basically you copy the short code from the settings page, and then you come over to pages, and just to use this example that I was showing earlier, those browse sermons by series, there is here you paste that short code onto the page.
See, I didn't see that little window there under the title.
With his theme, does he have that, Daniel?
It might be what might be different, Ron, is that you might still be using the classic editor.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, you don't need to worry about the short code block. You can just paste this little short code on the page, and then when you display the page, it will show the series grid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, Rick, let me address your question, and then after that that'll be the last question. So, great question. Does this still work well with sermons brought in by Sermon Audio? So, what I would recommend is, if you're using, well, I think OHCC, that is basically what OHCC is doing. So the sermons are on, here, let me log out. The sermons are on sermonaudio.com, I believe.
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, what you need to do is you need to embed individual sermons on those pages. And that was something we talked about in the webinar from last week, and you can,
right. Yep.
Yeah, and you can go back and you can use this guide that will show you how to get those embed codes.
So as we embed each of these on their own page, then we can build up the list from the series from that, because you're saying with the series, yep, you do that page, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, if there are if your question was not answered, then I'm going to put some links in the chat again. You can reach out to support. You can, let me send this. All right, you can email support@5moretalents.com. You can go to our our support help desk, 5moretalents.freshdesk.com. I also put some links to book a meeting. So Holly would be the person to book a meeting with if you're looking for some one-on-one training and support. And before we go, let me just mention the free bonus for today, which is early access to our new online course. And let's see, it's one of these tabs. Here it is. All right, so why you, this course is really intended most specifically for someone that is just trying to build a church website from scratch using WordPress, which probably that's not what anyone on the call today is necessarily wanting to do. But what you may find really helpful is this section, Mastering the WordPress Block Editor. And each of these lessons has a video that walks through. It's just a short video in most cases, 3 or 4 minutes. Then it also has a kind of a video summary how to. So I definitely recommend that everybody should be using the WordPress block editor at this point and not the classic editor. If that's new to you, then this will be very helpful, I think. So if you're interested in taking advantage of this, then let me show you. Let me just log out here. So you just follow. Oh, let me actually put this into the chat. So there's a coupon code you have to use. Soli Deo Gloria. And if you go to that link, courses.5moretalents.com, then you can see here this take this course button. And it's going to look scary at first because it's going to say it costs $400. I'll just kind of show you what you do. Just create your username and password. And then on the next page, you can enter the coupon code. Oops, let's see. Let's try a different email address. I'm having issues. There we go. Let's try this one more time. I think I actually got a different username this time. Oh my goodness. Woo. All right, let's try this. The 5th time is the charm, right? There we go. Okay. So once you finally get to this step, you can enter the coupon code and it will then reduce it will make it free. Then you can click take this course and then you can click on the link and then you can, again, I think the part of this course that would be just most beneficial to the average church website user would just be this section on mastering the WordPress block editor. So again, this is early access to the course that's not officially released yet, but I wanted to let you all have it as a bonus and let us know what you think about it. The last thing I want to mention very briefly is the Church Outreach Incubator. Just want to say that this starts in July. So reach out to Laura if you're interested in learning more about this. This is a 12-month program starting in July, running through next June, that will help you implement a comprehensive program of reinvigorating or developing ministries of outreach and evangelism if you're in a transitional season in the church. So we have 2 slots available starting in July. And if you're interested in learning more about that, then reach out to Laura. So
yes, Daniel, I saved the chat where did it get saved to?
Ooh, I don't know. I'm not sure how that works in Zoom.
It's not a copy, it saves.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Let's see if Control A will give me what I want.
What do you know? I see a
Um,
little thing. I don't know. That's a good question. I wish I knew, Ron. I'll have to look into that. And
Okay, well, I just did a Control A.
If you go up in the chat at the top where it says Church Outreach Weekly Webinar.
Yep.
And see the dot, dot, dot.
Yep.
Click on that and it says Save Chat.
Yep. Where does it save it to?
oh, then there's a button on my computer that says show in folder. So there should be a folder on your computer that's in a Zoom folder.
I
Yeah.
just did that. It looks like it's saved in like the, like on the PC under, is it?
Under Zoom
Uh,
and then the date for today and then meeting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great.
Under Zoom?
Yep, just in your
On
in
your-
your computer.
Yeah, on documents. If you'll go on this PC, documents, Zoom,
Oh, okay.
if it's that way, and then there'll be the date
Yes.
2024-06 and Church Outreach. You click on that
Okay.
folder and it's
That's,
there.
I found it there. Yeah, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Now,
All right.
clicking on it, see what happened.
All right, very good. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yep,
Thank
we
you.
will we'll see you in a couple of weeks and hopefully see some of you all in person at PCA General Assembly next week.
Okay.
All right, have a good afternoon.
All right, you too.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Yep, bye.
Mhm.